What is up? Wait, first off, we were on time.
We were on time. Oh, shit. Sorry. My bad.
That's right. Welcome to the Ryan Ripken Show. As you can probably tell, I'm not Ryan Ripken. I'm Zach Bollinger here because Ryan is out of town. We do have some people in here still, though. Kevin Ostreicher, Locked on Ravens, in studio. Way to give it. You know what, Kevin? I'll give you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then, of course, we got the man making it all happen behind the scenes, Brad. How's it going? It's weird without Ryan being here.
It's going good. I can tell. You know what? I was gonna ask you about the shirt, but before we get into that, I was gonna actually mention that you could tell that there is a tall person that normally sits in Kevin's seat.
Yeah,
we probably should have readjusted the microphone. The microphone itself is
yeah,
that's all right.
You know,
I can be tall for the day.
Yeah, you know what? This is just helping.
We need a couple
Kevin
of phone books for Kevin.
Yeah. Oh, we should have.
That being said, but what's up with the shirt, bro?
Yeah, Dunder Mifflin. I had to.
That's dope.
Dunder Mifflin. Shout out
Represent.
The Office. I told everyone I'd be wearing my Office merch, so I had to come through for everyone. It also felt like if I'm sitting in this chair, I have to wear a black shirt. You know, I felt like it's a uniform.
I mean, that's what Ryan does every show,
exactly.
So
and
I appreciate that.
Weirdly enough, I feel like uniforms are they're our hot spicy topic to kick off the show. In fact, MLB uniforms.
Good transition.
There's something about them right now. At first, people were talking about the MLB uniforms with the jerseys. Didn't like the jerseys, didn't like the quality that Fanatics, who is new this year, was putting out. And then they saw the pants. And this is Cal Raleigh from the Seattle Mariners telling a really bad joke, so I'm sorry in advance. But the pants are even worse. So take a look.
Why did the toilet paper roll down the hill? Why? To get to the bottom.
Jesus. All right, pause it.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah. So
look at
Brad, you take that away.
I was going to say, look at the bottom of right below the belt. I'm not trying to direct everybody's attention to his crotch, but like you could clearly see the jersey showing through on the pants. And I got to imagine, I mean, there's a lot of sweaty guys out there. I got to imagine in real game time situations, we're going to see an awful lot of sweaty cracks if something's not done about these uniforms. They're absolutely atrocious. You look at the White Sox uniforms, the lettering is all close together. It doesn't make any sense. They're all ugly. We talked about how the Orioles orange jerseys look like highlighters. You could see them from space. Yeah. Something has to be done before the season starts. And I sure hope that they do some sort of improvement because this is bad. This is the worst I've ever seen.
And I think it's one of those things where it's not only it's one thing when the fans complain, you know, like it's when the fans get upset about stuff that happens all the time. The players are very vocal about not liking these uniforms, and a lot of, articles coming out, videos, they're asking the players about them and they're like, I don't like these at all. Yeah. And now it's going to be interesting. I know a picture of Scott Barlow from the Cleveland Guardians was posted today by the team, and you can see the Nike check on his underwear underneath the thing. So they have to figure this out, right?
No, they have to figure it out. I mean, we saw, was it a Rangers player who had his name, I forget who it was, but his name was all around and the letters were all close together. And then you're right. It's not even just one player. Like if there's there was a problem with my uniform, right? That'd be one thing, but this is like multiple teams, and we're just in spring training. I mean, imagine what it's going to be like. We get to like the All-Star break, and I'm sure we're going to have like 50 other stories about this wardrobe malfunction here. So I don't know if you saw. This is the Guardians
you can see. You can just blatantly see his underwear. Like you just blatantly see his underwear. Like this is, come on, people.
Yeah, you can't. And I mean, even did you see there was a tweet from the Fanatics support? What player was it?
Oh, it was. So Michael Chavez, I believe it's pronounced Chavez. He posted a picture of his uniform that was in his locker. So it was the locker the team gave to him. And he posted it on social media. And Fanatics support responded, not knowing that it was Michael Chavez, who's an MLB player wearing his jersey that they gave him, said, oops, looks like we dropped the ball on this one.
Well, at least they know.
Yeah, and they said DM us so we can get you a new one. So that's just but even Fnatic support saw that and was like, oh, that's a mess up. And it's like, no, those are the jerseys that we're wearing this year. So
yeah, it wasn't like somebody just bought the jersey. It wasn't like some customer bought the jersey and they were trying to make right. This was a professional ball player bitching about this. And so like, it's crazy. It's obvious that things are an absolute mess.
Well, do you guys remember the story, with Fanatics where I think it was a Ravens fan got a Zay Flowers jersey, but it was like a Vikings jersey or something, and it got all this national. So this is not the first time. It is not even close to the first time Fanatics has had something like this happen. The difference is that they are supplying uniforms for all 30 MLB teams. Yeah, they're going to be seen by hundreds of millions of people this season. So that's the main difference. This is not one fan we're talking about. Yeah, and I would be remiss if I did not bring it up, but there was a picture that the San Francisco Giants posted or took a few days ago and started going around of a player, and it was to highlight his mustache, and it was to put out that he has a new mustache that he's doing this year. Unfortunately, you see the entire outline of his lower section front and center in the photo, which was quickly taken down once it became the talk of social media. So I do think this is going to be a weird beginning of the year because I don't know what Fanatics can do. Is it too late for them to switch uniforms? How many see-through pants have they already delivered? Because I would like to think that they give these teams enough pants to make it through the year. That's a lot of see-through pants. I don't want to. I'm telling you, there is going to be, if this stays the way it is, there's going to be like one major wardrobe malfunction that we're going to see, and we're gonna all say, "Told you so."
Yep,
we knew it was coming. So
I can learn more about.
Oh, there it is. Yep,
we dropped the ball on this one
again. At least they know they dropped the ball. At least they know.
But like, how does this guy?
I see a tweet that I don't even think we can put up on the.
Is it the Giants player?
No, it's I can't even. It Padres. I think this is. I'll send it and we can have the deliberators see if we'll be able to put this on the stream or not. But it's bad. I mean, it's bad already. It's gonna probably get worse.
No, I think that's the issue. Is this? I don't think this is the worst of it. I think the worst thing that can happen is they're going to try to fix it and make it even worse than it is.
I just don't know how this got through. Like, how did this get through the quality?
I know they had to have had like meetings.
Yeah.
Of like, all right, this is what we're going to give your players.
Right.
And
I see it now. We got to share it now.
Do we? Are we going to? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't. This is something whenever we're able to pull it up here.
Yeah.
Who is this? Like, who is?
I don't know who it is.
What picture is it? Do you have it up?
I will in just a second.
Awesome. Yeah, but did no one try? Like, did they have no one try these on? Like, do a test of like, hey, can you see the jersey through the pants? Because I feel like that would have been red flag number one.
Can you see this guy's balls?
Oh no,
that's really bad.
Like, fans are going to see that in the stands.
That's really bad.
That's really so bad. Terrible.
Yeah.
So bad. What is this? That's a Padres player. What is this?
That's a Padres player. This is how is Fanatics going to bounce back from this? That's another thing. And like you said, Kevin, this is the first time the Fanatics, I feel like, has been under heat. Usually it's because of the fans and, getting orders wrong and stuff. But now it's bigger because it is the entire MLB.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see what happens. But let's move on to, I guess, a little bit more promising news. We're going to go to the Jeep a little bit early. So, Kevin.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. This is my time to show.
Here we go, Kevin. Go.
Get on that bus. Get on that Jeep bus.
You make a good point. That is like a huge bus.
Yeah, you drive a massive bus. So, thank you to Adam's Jeep.
Wait, I want
to. Make sure you. Boom.
No.
No.
Other way there.
There
it's tough. It's tough.
There it is.
People don't understand. It's tough to sit in that seat. You have to know which way to. Ooh, there we go. But a little bit of good news coming out of College Park in a down year for basketball. Maryland or Baltimore area might be losing Patrick Queen over the offseason, but Derek Queen, don't think there's any relation, will be coming to the University of Maryland, the number 12 overall prospect in college basketball, I guess, in high school right now, is committed to Maryland. So a massive, massive get for a Terrapins team that up until, throughout this year, there's been a lot of questions about the future. So it is really good to see just something bright to talk about with Maryland basketball, because besides Jameer Young this year, it's been tough. So really happy. Honestly, I'm happy for Maryland fans just because it's been bad. I know with Willard coming in, people thought it was going to be this big change. They thought, okay, here it is. We got rid of Turgeon, and there's just going to be this influx of great talent, and we're going to have this incredible coaching staff, and we're going to go to the NCAA tournament, and it has not been that at all. It's been the opposite of that. It's been nothing but disappointment. So I'm happy for them.
Yeah, it's good. I think he's the second highest recruit in a while. I think Diamond Stone only is the one that's highest. Throwback to Diamond Stone, by the way.
What a throwback.
Yeah, serious throwback there. But again, hasn't been great. I think the Willard tenure this year especially, it's it hasn't been good. It seems like I think Spencer Scholl put this out. They just lose the same game every single time. It's the exact same script. Like, it's every single time. So this is a huge get for them, and maybe this is something that can finally turn things around for them after a really rough year this year. So I'm excited. I always love the people who go home or go back to where they're from. And obviously him being a Baltimore native is awesome. And they beat out, Maryland beat out like Kansas and a bunch of other top programs. Sometimes home is just where it's at,
And I think that's what people are most excited about. Is Kevin Willard's big thing was he wanted to protect the DMV, because there are a lot of great ball players in the DMV and in this Baltimore, Virginia, DC area.
PG County has a lot of guys,
And it's been a big struggle for them recently. They've been losing a lot of talented guys to out of state, to these big programs. So for them to get somebody of that stature, and also to kind of hopefully lead an influx of talent from the DMV area up into or down to College Park.
Yeah,
it is good to see. I mean, who was the last big true Baltimore? Was it Rudy Gay?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Or Mello went to Polytech, right?
Well, Mello went to Towson Catholic, right?
Did he?
I think Carmelo went there, and then he went up to New York.
Who am I thinking of that went to Poly? I don't know. But either way, it would be nice to have another true Baltimore native finally make it and be of that stature.
Yeah, I think it's something where, especially seeing that Maryland is an option now. I don't think for a little bit it kind of lost that I want to go to Maryland. I want to play basketball at Maryland. I think that, this could be something that starts to bring that back. You just have to, you make one run in the tournament and it can change a lot of things. So, I think there's more excitement now about next year in Maryland than there would be. And solely because of this. I think this was massive for them.
And I know it's different because with, college versus NBA, if a big star goes and signs somewhere, that guy's locked in. This could easily be a one and done here for Queen.
Oh,
I'm sure it's probably going to be. Yeah. But I think the point that you made is, if they make a run next season with him there, brings the excitement back. Yeah. You could maybe, again, begin to build that recruiting class and begin to build the reputation of what Maryland basketball is, because right now, again, it's not as high as it's ever been. I'll say that.
No, not at all. That is for sure. So let's move on. We just talked about Derek Queen. Let's talk about another Derek. Now let's move on to the NFL and some more rumors, because what's better than NFL rumors right now? I feel like you cannot escape them everywhere you look, especially on Twitter, especially on Kevin's Twitter. If you want some rumors that are going to get people riled up,
I'm stirring things up. And we were talking. I like, first of all, how you did the Patrick Queen to Derek Queen, and then Derek Queen to Derek Henry. Just, you got it. Who's Henry? Who? Yeah. There you go. you got to get a Henry that we're going to transition to a little later. So you got to think about it. But yeah, talking about the Ravens and where they're going to go for agency wise, that's really interesting, because their running back room, and we talked about it here on Monday, and obviously ever since their season ended, about where the running back position is going to go. Yeah, Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins, and Dalvin Cook all is free agent. So Derrick Henry's a guy who there was just so much smoke around him at the trade deadline. It just felt like it was destiny, like it was going to happen. And then like at the last second, it fell apart. Now he's a free agent. If the Ravens want him, he's there for the taking. He's not going back to Tennessee. There's no way he does.
Well, I know one guy who is convinced that Derrick Henry needs to be a Baltimore Raven. Brad, do we have that clip?
Yeah, here we go. So we got RG3 making a case for Derrick Henry to Baltimore. Here we go.
Going to be a free agent. And we all know he's an absolute beast. I've got the perfect place for him to go this offseason. He plays with physicality. He is relentless in his preparation. And we all know he ain't getting any younger. So he has a passion to get over the hump and go win a championship. So with all that being said, there's only one place for him to go. Derrick Henry should be a Baltimore Raven because he already plays like one. Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry just so happened to be the duo we didn't know we needed.
So I love the way that he served that up. I love the way that he sold it. But there are definitely a lot of cases, and we talked about this during the season when we thought that there was potential, and it kind of seemed as if the owner of the Titans was the one that vetoed that. It kind of felt like it was all but a done deal. And then at the stroke of midnight ended up not being not coming to fruition. So, as much as it pains me, Gus Edwards might more than likely will not be a Raven next year.
Yeah.
Dalvin Cook, I still feel like that whole signing was weird anyway, but Dalvin Cook could end up being in the mix again. Yeah. But J.K. Dobbins, I think, is not going to be a Raven next year unless he's willing to actually come to the table and work with Eric DeCosta. But Derrick Henry kind of really seems like that guy.
Mm-hmm.
The big problem, obviously, is going to be cap space to be able to sign a legacy running back like that. And that's some of the rumors that we're hearing about the Ravens wanting to sign a legacy guy. And they're going to have to clear up that cap space. And the Ravens have one of the tightest room for margin as far as that's concerned. I know, Kevin, you can talk a little bit more on that, but I would love to see Derrick Henry in purple. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think if just imagining Lamar and Derrick Henry in the same backfield, like again, regardless of, if you want to talk about, is Derrick Henry declining? Is he in, his prime anymore or whatnot? Just having a guy like Derrick Henry in the backfield and also having to deal with Lamar Jackson and that threat too, it would keep me up if I'm a defensive coordinator. Yeah. Like seriously. Now I know that for Spotrac, they have, they do a bunch of cap stuff and have all the cap information out there. They have him projected, I believe it's 2 years, 20 million with 13 guaranteed. So you're essentially, now is that a backloaded contract where you have the cap hit be really little in year one and then you can cut bait after a year and have essentially be a 1 year deal. It's a 2 year contract. We'll see. But I think the thing with the Ravens is they only have about, and this is before restructures and everything, so they're going to be able to create more. But it's around $3 to $7 million in cap space right now. It's not a lot of money.
No.
And we know that the Ravens have a bunch of really good free agents like Justin Madubuike and Patrick Queen and Geno Stone, and I could go on and on and on and on and on with that list. So in terms of if a Derrick Henry would prevent you, if it is 2 years, 20 million, would that 10 million or whatever it is, would that prevent you from bringing in a cornerback for depth if they don't get Ronald Darby or Arthur Millette back? Would that prevent them from bringing in maybe a wide receiver? There's a lot of conversation about what happens with Odell Beckham and if there's a guy that's going to come in and essentially take that quote unquote veteran spot in the lineup. So is signing a running back, whether it is Henry or if you want to go to the Josh Jacobs train or Saquon Barkley or whoever it may be, there's a debate because I think there was a graphic, I can't remember who put it out, but over the last 10 or 12, maybe 15 years, the starting running back on every Super Bowl winner, I don't think there's a guy over 10 million, maybe not even 5 million in terms of that. Like the last 2 years, it's been Pacheco. It's $700,000 each year. So there's something you got to keep in mind because I think a lot of what NFL teams view is what you should do with that position is just draft a guy in the middle rounds, play out the rookie contract, and then see what it is. The position is just in such a bad spot right now.
Well, and I think that's, I'm sorry, I'll let you get to it, Zach, in just a sec. But I think what, to your point, with the running back situation, that kind of plays into what we saw over the summer last year with Saquon and JK and a lot of the other running backs about how the value of the running back position has been diminished. And we're going to get into this topic in a little bit later, but with the quarterback position costing teams so much money, that's the playbook in which a lot of these organizations are going to have to work with is having these low value players and I'm just talking about monetarily, of course, but like having these rookies come in on their rookie contracts and hoping that they just ball out because they don't have many other options because they've had to pay some of these quarterbacks, and the quarterback gap has been so crazy. Again, we'll talk about that in a bit, but it's just been insane. So I think that it makes a lot of sense to what Kevin's saying. So it'll be interesting to see how the Ravens end up working their cap space to be able to fit a guy like Derrick Henry into their roster.
And I think also the way that the running back position over the maybe five or so years, we don't really see a bunch of like bell cow backs as much anymore. Like we see a bunch of teams that have a 1A running back, but you're not necessarily giving them, 250, 300 carries a season. Now, Derrick Henry has been one of the very lone exceptions to this rule because he has been taking a lot of carries over there in Tennessee. The Ravens, since Lamar Jackson came into the league, I believe there hasn't been a player except for Mark Ingram who's gone over 200 carries in a season. They've had guys, I think Gus was at 196 this year, and then they had a bunch of guys at 150 in the previous years. For the last 5 years, the lowest amount of carries Derrick Henry's had in a season is 280.
Yeah.
And the most he's had was in 2020, 378 carries. The year before that, 303. 2022, he had 349. Derrick Henry has played in the league for 8 years. He has 2,030 carries this year, or not this year, but over the course of his career.
That's ridiculous. That's the other thing that people don't understand.
And he's remained healthy.
Yeah, like that's what people don't understand about like what an enigma it's been with Derrick Henry, because they just give him the ball. And even this past year when they weren't necessarily playing for anything towards the end, they still their goal is they're like, hey, even if we're losing, whatever the situation may be, we're going to give you your touches. And I don't know if it's still, thinking about the AFC Championship, but every time I think about the Ravens signing a massive running back, I'm like, what's it matter if we're only going to give him 6 carries? So that's the big hump I have to get over mentally when talking about bringing in a star running back, because like you brought up, Super Bowl teams recently have not had high paid running backs. I think honestly, if we're talking about guys that I think fit that mold over the past few years, J.K. Dobbins was the guy for the Ravens. It sucks that he was injured, but that was the low cost. You got him in the second round. He didn't have a big cap hit. He was, team friendly salary. That was the guy. If he could have stayed healthy and taken that leap, that would have been like the perfect situation.
Yeah. And I see we got a comment here. Could you take what Kevin said, or what I was saying is a bigger reason to sign a Derrick Henry or Josh Jacobs type? If teams are valuing free agent running backs less now, the Ravens could take advantage of that. I feel like with guys like Derrick Henry, it could be possible, right? Because at this point, if you're talking about Saquon Barkley or Josh Jacobs, those are two running backs looking for their second contract, right? They haven't been quote unquote paid yet.
Yeah.
So you're looking for those guys who both played on some version of a 1-year extension off of the franchise tag. But Derrick Henry has earned, this is not his second contract. No. He's not, 24, 25 years old anymore. So for him, I think the fact that he's not going back to Tennessee, I think has a little bit to do with, look, he wants to go win a Super Bowl. Like that's a big priority for him. And even though we know how the Ravens season ended, Zach, you talked about the 6 carries in the AFC Championship game for running backs. With the way the Ravens running back room is right now, there are just so many different reasons.
Justice Hill.
Yeah, it's Justice Hill, and that's it. Literally, that's it.
And who knows, maybe a guy I've seen. Yeah,
right.
Well, we're talking about just like sign,
like
healthy guys sign. And who knows, maybe having a guy like a Derrick Henry forces the Ravens in the playoffs to stick to their game plan. You never know, but maybe that changes it and all. Real quick, if you could like and subscribe to the channel, we would really appreciate that. We are live Mondays and Thursdays. Usually Ryan, who's like a little bit taller, there's not much more height, but like
he's shorter than me. It's fun.
Yeah, no, he's actually short. Fun fact: Kevin's actually the tallest here.
I'm actually 7 feet tall.
Yeah, that we have to make it.
No, I'm 7'5".
Yeah,
just don't flip the numbers around to reveal my actual height.
Exactly. You see, so Kevin's actually the tallest one in studio, and but there's just a lot. I know we want to talk a little bit about not just Ravens free agency. Let's talk about free agency everywhere. And Brad, I know you want to do. I guess we're doing a little matchmaking game. We'll play a little. I guess NFL Tinder type here.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
I like that. So I know that I think Kevin had the free agent list pulled up, but let's just start with the running backs since we're already on the topic. top 4 running backs, I think, arguably are Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, and Austin Eckler. And so what I want to do is pick free agents that could instantly make their team better. And so I think it's a foregone conclusion that Austin Eckler is no longer going to be the running back for the Chargers.
No.
Yep.
Josh Jacobs, division rival, going into the Chargers would instantly make that team better. And I think that it would be a phenomenal difference maker to that offense. Obviously, you got so much going on with Jim Harbaugh and that the whole regime change.
Yeah,
that organization is being flipped on its head in a good way. And I think adding a guy like Josh Jacobs just makes a ton of sense. Now you're going to stick it to the Raiders twice a year, and you're going to be a force to be reckoned with in that AFC West. I said at the beginning of the, towards the end of the year, I've said it especially since Jim Harbaugh got signed, that I don't think that the Chiefs are going to just wreak havoc on the AFC West anymore. I think that it's going to be a pretty challenging division, and it's not going to be as easy as it was over the last 6 years for them.
No, I agree. And adding a guy like Josh Jacobs, especially to a team like the Chargers, where, like you said, Jim Harbaugh wants to come and establish the run. Who is the Los Angeles Chargers offensive coordinator? Greg Roman. What does Greg Roman like to do? Run the football. So I think if there's a team, a lot of people are saying get Herbert weapons. Herbert's had weapons.
Yeah.
Herbert has had some of the best weapons of anybody in the league, but he hasn't had an offensive line and he has not had a consistent run game that they have stuck with to help his passing. So I think getting a solid running back and a good offensive line that can protect him. I know they just, I believe, restructured their center, Lindsley. So they're on the right track to starting to get more cap room to then fill these holes. But like you said, Brad, it doesn't feel like it's going to be a cakewalk for the Chiefs. It feels like every team in that division, maybe not the Raiders right away, even though we saw Pierce. He had them playing inspired football, and they beat the Chiefs. So
Correct.
I agree. I think it's going to be a very competitive division next year. But of course, we have to see what the Chiefs do in free agency. If they land a guy like a Mike Evans, we're once again probably back at the
Don't ruin
part
it.
of the Chiefs. Oh, was that your next guy? Do you want the
You're gonna go all 3 in a row?
Yeah, no. No. So who's your running back that out of those 4, who's your running back that's going into a team?
I don't want to take the easy way out and say Derrick Henry to the Ravens. So I'm gonna go with, I want to put a run. Now I'm going to go Derrick Henry to the Ravens. I think it does change. It's the one that just sits in my head. I would prefer Saquon, me personally, because I think he's a better all-around running back. But I think Derrick Henry just adds something to the run game where you now can't just put guys out. You have to stack the box. Because if you sit there and allow Derrick Henry to get open run lanes with a Lamar Jackson, Lamar's going to have them. They're going to have to space out the defense, because if you come in, Lamar Jackson out the back door, touchdown, see you later. But if you have a Derrick Henry who can wreak havoc up the middle, sort of like what we hoped Gus Edwards would be, in that just hard nose, he's going to go out and get 7 yards of carry. I think that changes the Ravens offense. I'm not sure if they need I'm going back on what I said, but that's part of the job.
Yeah.
Who you got, Kevin?
Sometimes happens. Well, I think we have Tori as an Eagles fan here, and so before I get into mine, I just think Derrick Henry on the Eagles. That's the other team I've been seeing floating around with the Ravens. DeAndre Swift's a free agent. Again, I don't know how it's going to work out with Sirianni at the end of the day, but
especially with reports of him and Big Dom.
Yeah, the Big Dom stuff is that's definitely spicy. But I don't know. I think that if it's not the Ravens, I could see Henry on the Eagles just because they have an opening there. And he's not going to command the same amount of money that a guy like Saquon is going to, or as Josh Jacobs. But for me, I'm going to go Saquon. And I've seen this one floating around a little bit. I agree. I think Houston. You pair Saquon with CJ Stroud. You get Tank Dell back. They also had a lot of injuries on the offensive line last year. Tunsil was healthy for the majority of the season, if I'm not mistaken, but they lost Titus Howard pretty early in the season, and he has turned into a stud for them at the other tackle position. The Texans have cap space. I think it's around $52 million. I think they can bring in a Saquon, and imagine with CJ and Saquon and Tank Dell, you add another wide receiver potentially to that mix, or maybe even two of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that offense, you have Dalton Schultz already as the tight end, although I wouldn't expect Patrick Queen there with how they were kind of beefing during the divisional round game. But
yeah.
I still think Saquon to Houston is a really cool one for me. I think I'll take that one.
I actually had not thought of that until you brought it up, but that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
That's a scary offense. If you have CJ Stroud and then Saquon Barkley just to do it all back, it would also mean I can't be hurt by Dameon Pierce and drafting him.
Yeah,
so.
I think that experiment might be over, unfortunately for them.
Yeah, he better be.
All right. Next up, we have the wide receiver room. So, Kevin, do you know how many wide receivers are free agents this season?
There are a lot of them, but this is a pretty good class. I mean, I know Mike Evans. I'm not going to steal that one, but Mike Evans is one of them. But then you have guys like T. Higgins, Michael Pittman, and a bunch of other guys. And I have the full free agent list right here. CBS actually put out a top 100 list of free agents, and just prior, the Ravens have actually 6 of the top 60 guys. But talk about free agent wide receiver, Odell is one of those guys. Although he's not at the very top.
Yeah,
he's not the prime New York Giants Odell we've seen. But I think the top 3 is definitely Mike Evans in there. And then as I'm scrolling through this list, T. Higgins is listed at 10, Evans is at 12, Pittman is at 14. Calvin Ridley's an interesting one that I think that's kind of the what if the Ravens didn't draft Hayden Hurst. I think everybody wanted Calvin Ridley. Yeah. I wanted Derwin. I didn't want them to trade out of the pick. I wanted them to take Derwin when they had the shot, and they didn't do it. Derwin James.
Yeah.
But those are kind of the top. I mean, Marquise Brown is one where
actually that's where
talking about Ravens. I won't take that one. But this is they have talented guys, and I think that I don't know. I'm big on the Mike Evans train, but I'm not going to steal that.
No, I'm actually not going with Mike Evans. So if you want to take
Brad, were you going Mike Evans?
No, I was just saying when he was talking about wide receivers, so we don't want to ruin the wide receiver pick.
Yeah,
so
take
whatever you're going to take.
I'll take Mike Evans. I'll take Mike Evans. I'll say Mike Evans of the Chiefs. It's been something that a lot of people have been talking about, and I mean, look, we know that Kansas City's wide receiver group this past year was just terrible. It was bad. I mean, Rashee Rice is a stud, right? He's the exception. But then you have Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who, to his credit, was playoff MVS and made a couple of really nice plays in the playoffs. But that guy, he can't be your number 2. I think they might actually release him. Maybe they will. Maybe they can save money, but he might be too important. Kadarius Toney's not stepping foot on that field for Kansas City again.
No.
So I think you add a guy like Mike Evans, and again, you got to maneuver around the cap. Chris Jones is a free agent, so do you re-sign him? L'Jarius Sneed's another guy as well. But for the Chiefs, you get Patrick Mahomes, that clear number 1 that they have not had since Tyreek Hill was there. I think it could happen. I'm not sure Mike Evans returns to Tampa at this point. I feel like some sort of change is going to happen there. So I don't know. I mean, Kansas City's in 100% a dynasty at this point. I think adding Evans is one of the best moves they can make if they want to pair. We know that defense was great. We want to pair that defense and get the Chiefs offense back to maybe what it was over the past few seasons. Yeah. Evans is one of your tickets, I think, to go there.
I'm going to go same team, different player. I actually thought this was going to happen at the trade deadline last year. I thought there was a possibility. I traded for him in fantasy a few weeks before, hoping it would happen. Hollywood Brown on the Chiefs. I think taking over that Tyreek Hill-esque position, playing that type of wide receiver so they can let Rashee Rice continue to run the short routes, have Kelsey work the intermediate part of the field, and then Hollywood Brown be your deep threat. I don't want it, but that jumps out as a cheaper option to me for the Chiefs if they want to go and continue to. They're going to have to spend money to keep Chris Jones. They're going to have to put out L'Jarius Sneed as a unrestricted free agent. They're going to have to figure out what to do with that. They're not going to have the most money. And I think that if they want to keep everyone together while still improving, I think Hollywood Brown's a guy that sneakily could take that offense to another level, unfortunately.
It's a good one.
Brad, what you got?
For me, it's going to be T. Higgins to the Packers. We saw what Jordan Love has done with a Packers team where you don't even know any of the wide receivers on that side of the ball. Not one household name. T. Higgins could go in there and instantly make that team even better than they were this year. Jordan Love was feeling himself the last half of that season, and if you put a guy in there like T. Higgins, a guy he's going to be able to trust. I mean, what an absolute like juggernaut that the Packers could be next year if you got a game changer like that and a wide receiver one. That would be T. Higgins.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, that was. I was thinking about Hollywood to the Packers, but then decided I wanted to speak. The Packers are in a weird spot where they have a decent wide receiver room, but if you get that one, it makes everyone.
Well, I just think
level.
Christian Watson has been proven to be a little too injury prone at this point, where you can't necessarily rely on him to play a full 17 games. So you can still have, if Higgins goes there, you can have Higgins, Watson, and Dobbs. And then if Watson has to miss some time, you don't have as deep of a drop off, where Jaden Reed was awesome for him. Like they had guys step up throughout the season, but having a game changer playmaker, I mean, he's a 1, but he's not going to be a 1 in Cincinnati because Jamar Chase obviously is going to have that role. So I like that a lot, Brad. I think that's a good one.
Yeah, and I see a lot of people talking about Mike Evans, and I know that you mentioned Mike Evans to the Chiefs, and I think he could be good there too. But I don't know. As much as Mike Evans was a difference maker for the Bucs this past year and whatnot, he's 31, correct? He's going to be 31.
Around, yeah.
So I just feel like Mike Evans obviously is on the tail end of his career. I don't want to say that he's going to be a scrub. I know stretch of the imagination, but like if he doesn't have a top tier quarterback, I don't know how well he's going to do. And so obviously being on the Chiefs could be that factor, but we've seen how players have gone from just being the franchise skill position player, like a Julio Jones, goes to a different team, and he's just not that same guy anymore because he's not in the same system. And so I kind of worry about that for Mike Evans. Not that he can't go and ball out, but is he going to be a DeAndre Hopkins type of guy where he might have one good year, maybe, and then kind of trails off. So I kind of worry about that for Mike too.
Do you know who I'll never quit? A free agent wide receiver on this list, DJ Chark. I'll never quit DJ Chark. I love DJ Chark.
Yes. DJ Chark is one of those guys that every time he's a free agent, he always gets linked to the Ravens. It's always like, could they get DJ Chark? And of course, at the moment, everyone freaks out because everyone talks about the Mike Evans and everything. And that's like, that would be such a Ravens move to go, skip these guys and go get DJ Chark. DJ Chark is a good wide receiver.
He just can't stay healthy.
Can't stay healthy.
All right. What position are we doing now?
We can do one more. I was going to do probably linebackers or just anybody on the defensive side of the ball.
Let's see. This free agent class defensively is interesting. I know everybody's talking about Chris Jones if he leaves Kansas City. I don't think he's going to leave.
No.
I think that's something where he stays. I think an interesting conversation, and I'm trying to pull up the list here, is everybody thinks Patrick Queen is going to Seattle. And there's a contingent, I think, of Seahawks fans that actually think Jordan Brooks is better than Patrick Queen. I know costs less money than Patrick Queen, so just re-sign Jordan Brooks. But obviously what's happening with that whole situation is, well, Patrick Queen is like Mike McDonald's guy, and Mike McDonald is Patrick Queen's guy. So it feels like that would make the most sense. Now, I think that Patrick Queen can go off and, go run his own, like not be next to Roquan and still do good. Like Queen can go and not be in Roquan's, I guess, shadow, if you want to call it that, because even before Roquan came in, and Patrick Queen was awesome. Like he was getting better. Roquan just elevated everybody on that defense, including Patrick Queen. So I think that he would make Seattle's defense better. Jordan Brooks and Patrick Queen are rangy, athletic linebackers. Both of them have similar skill sets. Brooks has a more of an injury history, but it just depends if McDonald's like, hey, you know what? This is a guy I really want. He wants to be here. I'm going to go get him. So I think Queen would elevate Seattle. I'll go with that for my defensive player.
I think, like you said, I think it is kind of one of those things where Queen to Seattle, it's not a done deal, but everyone has that.
It's like Henry to Baltimore almost.
Yeah.
Like it feels inevitable.
There's a lot
but
of
it's not
smoke.
official.
There's a lot of smoke, and obviously where there's smoke, there's usually fire. But it's hard to get past that Mike McDonald connection because those two did so well together. Patrick Queen took massive leaps in his career, possibly because Roquan came in, but obviously Mike McDonald helps. Brad, who do you got?
So I'm going on the Eagles here. The Eagles last year had an abysmal defense. Pass defense wasn't there, and even the front line. I'm going Frankie Louvu to the Eagles. Guy probably a lot of people don't know who he is, probably because he's on the worst team in football. and that is the Carolina Panthers. So if you haven't seen or heard of Frankie Louvu, that's probably why. But he's an absolute stud. Rushed quarterback 43 times. I think was 4th in the league on that, and then 9.5 sacks since 2022. Led the league in his position on that as well. So watch for him to make waves in free agency. I just hope that he goes to a solid team that actually makes the difference there. And if he goes on the Eagles, I think the Eagles become a dominating defense yet again. I think he's just that guy that could elevate a lot of players around him, especially with how many Georgia dogs are there that they drafted just a year ago. You know, they got another year under their belt. You bring a guy in like Frankie, and I think it's going to be that defense could be scary good.
That defense has so many pieces on it.
Yeah,
the Carolina defense with Burns and Derek Brown and J.C. Horn and all these guys, Jeremy Chin. Like they have so many pieces, but it's been so bad.
It makes no sense. They're literally one of those teams where you look at the roster and you're like, hey, they can win like 4 or 5 games, and then they go out there and they play football, and you're like, what is happening? Like you guys are so much better than this. I'm gonna go bold. I'm gonna say L'Jarius Sneed leaves. Goes to the Tennessee Titans. I think he follows. I think they got something going there, and I think they got a lot of cap space, and they can give the man money because I think the Chiefs are going to have their hands tied and have to give Chris Jones.
They're going to have to choose.
They're going to have to choose one of them, who they're going to franchise tag, who they're going to go after. And if they let Sneed hit the open market, I think a team with a lot of money, a lot of cap space, is going to come give him a contract, especially after the year he had. They're going to give him a lot of money to come there. And I think the Chiefs, the way they're looking at it is Trent McDuffie played really well. Trent McDuffie is a great corner. And is it worth paying Sneed if you already have another top corner and you can just go get a cheaper second option? I think that's where it comes down to. Do I think he actually leaves? Probably not. But in the scenario he does, let's get bold. Tennessee Titans.
I like that
one.
Yeah. Secondary coach is from the Ravens is now defense coordinator. I think it's something that comes together.
Wild card here for me would be not a free agent, but just a trade. I think the Ravens trading for Khalil Mack could and may very well end up happening.
My wild card trade, I will never quit that Jair Alexander to the Ravens agenda. I'll never do it. I love Jair Alexander. He's been like every year, like if like on Locked On Ravens, I'm like, if you've been listening to me do it for a while, you know I've wanted Jair Alexander for like 3 or 4 years on the Ravens.
Reunited with Lamar.
They're like best, well not best, but like really, really good friends. Obviously went to college together.
Yeah, I was gonna say they have that video of what was Jair was drafted.
He was
Lamar got drafted while Jair was doing his press conference, and they had that really cool moment.
Yeah.
So now that we I guess we've talked about what could happen in the NFL, let's talk about what's going on in the NFL right now and more just drama, because what else would we do during the NFL offseason than have Stephen A. Smith and Micah Parsons talk
dynamic duo.
Yeah. Not the podcast we thought we needed, but those two together talking about Dak Prescott. And Brad, I think you can explain a little bit more about what goes on.
Yeah. So, look, and this is kind of what I was really looking forward to, the conversation that we were going to have about just the quarterbacks and paying them. There's a precedent that could likely be set with Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. You know, the Dak Prescott's contract kind of has the Cowboys by the balls. There is no trade clause. There is no franchise tag that is allowed within his contract, and he's getting ready to come into the last year of it. He is potentially up to reset the QB market with $60 million a year. That's not coming from Dak Prescott. That's just people, out there kind of creating headlines, but it certainly makes sense, especially the way that the way quarterbacks have been paid over the last 2-3 years. That could be the next in line. Does Dak deserve a $60 million a year contract? We'll let Micah Parsons kind of voice his opinion on that. Take a listen.
Are you thinking we a bit too hard on Dak Prescott with his player performances?
I just think y'all analyze everyone differently. Besides Patrick Mahomes,
Right.
What other quarterback in the AFC has accomplished anything to get more credit than Dak?
Joe Burrow. Josh Allen.
Did he finish?
No. But they got
It
further.
doesn't matter how far you get. If you're going home and you're not tearing the ring, it doesn't matter.
So you go to the NFC Championship.
It doesn't matter. If we get sent home, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
That's no different.
It doesn't matter.
Getting bounced in a wild card game?
It's no difference.
Come on, man. That's ridiculous.
All you doing is you just get more hope. But if you are not the Super Bowl champion, it does not matter what you've accomplished. It doesn't matter if you're MVP, Defensive Player of the Year. It doesn't matter. If you're not the Super Bowl champion, it doesn't matter. You haven't accomplished anything. That does not. When you go to the Hall of Fame, are you do anything? Does it say made an NFC Championship final?
No.
It gives you a Pro Bowl, or All-Pro, and Super Bowl. Those are the only three things that they consider. They don't say, "Oh, you made it to the NFC Championship, you deserve this."
Bro.
And you do not win the big one, it does not matter.
Micah Parsons was.
I think he's upset he didn't win Defensive Player of the Year. He said it doesn't matter if you win MVP or Defensive Player of the Year if you don't win a championship. Also, he said that all they care about is Super Bowls, Pro Bowls, and All Pros.
Talking about the Hall of Fame, yeah.
Yeah, I do believe they take into account things like, Defensive Player of the Year, things like most valuable player in the league. So I understand.
That was the case. Joe Thomas would have never made the Hall of Fame. Period.
Yeah, like
Dan Marino would have never made the Hall of Fame.
I understand what Mike is trying to do. He has to defend his guy. Like, that's his quarterback. You have to defend him. But unfortunately, over the past few weeks, it's just been a train of Micah Parsons going on to different podcasts, on his own Twitter, on his own podcast, and saying stuff that is really just getting under people's skin. And it makes no sense. Like, and then I'll call him friend of the show, Sean Merriman. I will say known Dak Prescott hater.
Very known. Very known.
I actually looked up Sean Merriman, Dak Prescott, in a video from him in 2019 saying that signing Dak is the worst move in NFL history. So I'll give it to him. He has stayed consistent.
Crazy.
So for those, he's not wrong. He's not like, I don't think he's wrong here. So, and I'll let you speak in a second, Kevin. And I'll just make this point and let you react it on the other side. But like, I think what we've seen from Dak, and you can call me a hater all you want this season, but I've talked about this, and Zach, you know that I've talked about this. The teams that Dak did well against, the reason he was in the MVP conversation this year wasn't because he was blowing out good teams. He was blowing out sub 500 teams, and the numbers were just inflated this year. Anytime he went up against a team that was either a playoff team in the regular season or with a winning team, he has a losing record. And so, and it's bad performances, not even just like, oh, they barely lost, really bad performances. They beat the Seahawks in primetime television or midway through the season, but barely beat them at home. And so, for him to command a $60 million a year contract just makes no sense to me. And I mean, obviously the Cowboys are stuck. Do they pay up or not, Kevin?
Yeah, it's a tough thing because this is something I've preached for a while. I feel like Dak is not a bad quarterback. Like Dak is not bad.
Yeah. But
if you move off of Dak Prescott after this whole thing, if you draft another quarterback and he's in the middling tier, like a Daniel Jones or I don't know, Derek Carr is not bad either, but it's like and then you have to pay that guy $150 million or $175 million. I would hate to pay him
$60 million a year.
Yeah.
Well, right. And to me, this is where the Cowboys are stuck. You're right, Brad, because with Dak, the way that the quarterback market is, even though Dak isn't looking for his second contract, this will not be his second contract. Yeah. It's almost like the quarterback tax of like, well, I'm going to beat this guy, because we saw it with Lamar and Burrow and Hurts and Herbert kind of all signing their, I know that wasn't exactly in chronological order, but signing their deals where it's like, well, Burrow's going to get, or Hurts signed, then Lamar signed, then Burrow, then Herbert, if I'm not mistaken, or flipped. So now with Prescott and all these other quarterbacks, if they're in the top 10 conversation or top 12 conversation, you might have to go above there. That's what's the way the salary cap is going. Dak is not worth $60 million. I will say that he's not worth $60 million. But at this point, where do you turn if you're Dallas? And I agree with Brad. I think that's where they're stuck.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's exactly where they're stuck because you're at the point you can't franchise tag him. You can't trade him. You're going to just have to let him walk. And it's, do you start over at the quarterback position? Right. And that's tough to do.
And I think their roster is too good for them to bring in some, rookie quarterback that isn't ready yet. Mm-hmm. It's almost like the conversation that we were having in Baltimore with the Lamar situation. Yeah. It was, well, if they move on from Lamar, who's the next quarterback and what do they do with the rest of their roster? Because their roster was too good just to go into a full rebuild. You'd have to trade Roquan and trade Mark Andrews and trade this guy and trade that guy. Dallas is in the same situation. So if you move on from Dak, I don't know who the free agent quarterbacks are next year, but you would have to bring in some veteran that's maybe not in his prime anymore, or go trade for somebody and just hope that they're the guy, but maybe they're on the same level or even a little worse than Dak at that point.
Yeah. Let me bring this up. What if the Cowboys drafted like a Bo Nix this year and give him that season?
Sit him behind Dak.
I'm not saying that would be smart. I think that would ruffle a lot of feathers in Dallas. Yeah. I think it would be very difficult this year. You would have to put all your marbles in the basket and go for it this year. Like you said, it's tough, but I would not be surprised because like you said, it's just
right. It'd have to be someone like that.
Yeah.
That would be sick.
Yeah. It's just the Cowboys are in this position where it's, what do you do? Because do you pay Dak Prescott, who hasn't taken you to those places, $60 million, or do you start over with a quarterback and now you're in this no man's land?
Yeah, but here's what I'll say about that. If you put a good quarterback, a quarterback that's going to be better than Dak, like, for example, Kirk Cousins with CeeDee Lamb and with all the talent that's surrounded around the Cowboys right now, what does that look like? Because then we'll at least be able to put the conversation to bed of like, no, this wasn't Dak Prescott's fault, even though I think it is. I don't know how you can have that much talent around that team and not do well, and certainly do better than the wild card round. And so, it's just been one of those things. The other side of the ball obviously was a big question mark because Dan Quinn couldn't figure out how to pivot to save himself, which is kind of crazy that he's even got a head coaching job. So we'll see how that shakes out. But, the offensive side of the ball, I would love to see another talented quarterback and see what he can do with the talent that's surrounded around the Dallas Cowboys on the offensive side of the ball.
The one thing also is Dak going into this season is going to be 31. So if you give him a 4-year deal worth 60 per year, or even a 5-year deal worth 60 million per year, he's going to be 36 or 35, or if it's a 3-year deal, 34, if I'm not mistaken, at the end of that contract. Or you might even know because it's in addition. So he still has this year. So he'll be 32 by the time that next contract starts. To pay a guy $60 million a season who's 32 years old and who hasn't shown anything yet. I mean, he hasn't. I to play devil's advocate a little, I kind of understand what Micah Parsons is saying in terms of if you lose in the AFC Championship game versus if you lose in the wild card round, you don't win the Super Bowl either way. But there is something to say about being able to win in those moments and win in those games. So winning 2 playoff games to get the AFC Championship, I still think is different than just losing the wild card round every year. And it's the conversation that a lot of people have with Lamar Jackson too. It's, well, can he get over that? Can he get past the division round? Can he get over that hump? And he did it. And that was a step in the right direction. Now, we didn't win the Super Bowl, and we're still having that conversation. But so I understand what both Micah and Stephen A are saying, because there are levels to, yes, you don't win the Super Bowl, whether you're the worst team in the league and have the number 1 pick, or if you lose in the Super Bowl, you don't get a ring. But you have to prove you can win in those big moments, and Dak just hasn't done it enough. And almost to Brad's point, it's like the paper tigers conversation.
Yeah, it's at this point, you don't know what you're going to get from Dak if you give him that 5-year extension, and is it worth it? There's so much for the Cowboys to, I guess, take into account here. I know, Brad, we got another video that we're going to play. Do you want to explain that one a little more with Patrick Willis?
Yeah, so this was some interesting spiciness.
I was going to say a little spicy. Last minute spice. We didn't originally plan on talking about this, but
but apparently Patrick Willis has taken Colin Kaepernick, 2012 Colin Kaepernick, over Brock Purdy, which I thought was very interesting, very spicy. Obviously, Patrick Willis played with Colin Kaepernick in the Super Bowl and throughout all those NFC Championship games, but I thought that was very interesting. And, Zach and I obviously have had our own opinions on Brock Purdy and that whole situation, but take a listen to what he had to say, because I thought this was very interesting. He was on the RG3 podcast as well. So just take a listen and we'll react to this on the other side.
Replaced Alex Smith in 2012. And then, of course, Brock Purdy replaced Jimmy G, but it was the previous year. Both teams had a quarterback that had replaced the starter. Would you have taken Cap from 2012, or would you take Brock Purdy from 2023?
I'm going to have to take Cap. A lot of people can go back and picnic like towards what it looked like, towards his last couple years or whatnot with the Niners, or his last year with the Niners. He did what he needed to do. It may not have been in a way that, in a traditional quarterback throwing way, but man, you guys were something electrifying. But man, Purdy, that's a tough one, man. I love him 1A and 1B.
So that was RG3 and the Ones podcast there, having Patrick Willis on. I thought this was interesting. I'm going to say that I would be taking 2012 Colin Kaepernick too. That dude was special that year, and really just those stretch of years. Brock Purdy has yet to really. People are going to go crazy when I say this. Brock Purdy has really yet to prove himself, and we saw that what happened when good defenses rattled him. But obviously the Ravens on Christmas Day, then in the Super Bowl, you can make the argument that he did well against the Lions, but I think the Lions beat themselves on the defensive side of the ball. We can have that conversation another time, but I'm taking Colin Kaepernick as well.
I think it's a situation where it's hard to not get excited when you like Colin Kaepernick's ability. I think Brandon talks about right here. Imagine this athleticism, because he says he could move. He was incredible in the open field. Imagine that athleticism with Debo, Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle. Like, it just would add such an insane next level to that offense. So I like how Patrick Willis played. It's like 1A, 1B. I'll get contra. I'll say Kaepernick here just to make it more fun. I think we've seen Purdy do it, and I think it would be really cool, this offense, with just, we always talk about if like Lamar Jackson were to go to the 49ers and add that running quarterback type of aspect to a team. I think this would be something similar with the way he plays.
Yeah, I think, we talk about how people value stats sometimes a little too much in terms of everything. And look, Kaepernick only started 7 games that year, but obviously went on the run in the playoffs and looked really good doing it. And Purdy, I'm not saying that he didn't go on a run, but I think with the roster, and San Francisco in Kaepernick's year had a really good roster. Like, they had Frank Gore and Crabtree, and that was actually Randy Moss was on. That was like end of career.
Yeah, that was
Moss.
end of career. Randy Moss.
But then you had guys like Vernon Davis and Willis and Navarro Bowman. That whole defense was really good. But the thing with Kaepernick is, if you're looking at what he did in his prime, I know it wasn't a very long prime. But I just think you replace Purdy with him. Again, not saying Purdy's a bad quarterback, but I just think I would love to have seen what that looked like, because with Kaepernick and McCaffrey in the same backfield, like it's almost like the Lamar Derrick Henry things. Like, you want to see it so badly, and like obviously we have a realistic shot of potentially seeing Lamar and Derrick Henry. But with prime Kaepernick and what Christian McCaffrey's doing, you have Debo and Ayuk and Kittle, and all the offensive line, has some pieces on it at least.
Yeah.
I think he would be really, really good in that offense.
I think it would just be, like you said, it's just something you want to see. Like, Christian McCaffrey and Debo Samuel in like all their trickery by itself is awesome to watch. Then you add in an insane rushing threat at quarterback. That would be something cool for that's just entertainment.
Yeah. Plus, then we get into the conversation of Kaepernick and Greg Roman's offense versus Kyle Shanahan's offense, and what that would look like. I'd be interested to see what that would have been.
That is a fantastic. I didn't even think about that. That would, we did see Kaepernick in that. Greg Roman. Who knows? We've always said Greg Roman's offense kind of has a shelf life. After a few years, it seems like historically it's kind of done really well for 2 years, then it starts to kind of fall off. So maybe that had something to do with Kaepernick's play starting to decline towards the end. But yeah, that was not something we were planning on talking about, but you showed
that was a late one.
Yeah, mid countdown, Kevin was like, "Hey, Patrick Willis just say take Colin Kaepernick over Brock Purdy," and I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, so mild spice.
Yeah,
mild spice.
Yeah, it's a little mild spice for your Thursday. And speaking of Thursdays, this is the Ryan Ripken Show. every Monday and Thursday, we have live shows. Usually Ryan is here. He is not here today. He is out of town, but we decided to do it anyway. So if you enjoy the content, we would love it if you like and subscribe. So like we said, every Monday and Thursday. And I guess let's move on to a little baseball.
Also, we got a Discord going on. We got to plug the Discord. If you're interested in more football conversation with Ravens or baseball with Orioles, obviously we got a lot of stuff here planned for baseball season. Should be super exciting. You can head over to the Discord. I believe that's in the description on the stream, so you can go and hop in there. We're getting better at it. I would say we're being a little more active in there now, and I think people are excited for it. So if you want to be a part of that community, talk with more Ravens fans, Orioles fans, Baltimore sports fans, just sports fans in general, you can head on over there. We interact in there as well. I think we have a lot of fun things planned for the Discord too. So stay tuned for that. If you're someone who likes to just interact with the sports community, you can do it on social media, but Discord is another one of those forms. So really exciting stuff over there on Discord.
Yeah, like you said, we are getting better at it. For a little bit, it was not as we were getting better at responding. I think we're starting to hit our stride in actually checking it. I kind of forgot to check Discord for a little bit.
Hey, before we get into baseball, I also do have a poll up. And before I give the results, there's a lot of action on this one. The best made pizza dough. So like, how do you order your pizza?
Oh,
like what kind of crust are you getting on your pizza?
It depends on the pizza.
Yeah. What are the options?
Yeah.
All right. So the options are deep dish, thin crust, hand tossed, and stuffed crust.
Oh.
You going Chicago style? You going with the thin crust, traditional hand tossed?
I mean, I feel like stuffed crust is just like, if I'm going to get stuff, like if that's an option, I would probably pick stuffed crust just because it's stuffed crust. But stuffed crust is also one of those things where like it's good for the first like pizza, like first slice or two, and then you're like, okay, this is a lot.
Yeah, I'm fine with stuffed. I mean, I like the thick crust though. Like
you like the Chicago,
like the
deep dish.
For the deep dish stuff, yeah, I think I like that personally. But what one, Brad? Which one took it?
So for me personally, thanks for asking. I'm gonna take stuffed crust because like stuffed crust, which I do agree that it's a lot. It can go a long way. It lasts a couple days, whatever. I'm gonna eat it for breakfast. I'm gonna eat it for lunch the next day. But I love the fact that I can take it's like a breadstick without having to order extra breadsticks. You eat the pizza, and you get a breadstick that's full of cheese and pepperoni or whatever. You could dip it in whatever sauce you want, ranch, what have you. That's why I love stuffed crust for me. But hand tossed is winning outright here. 39% of the vote came in at hand tossed.
What's second? I feel like, it's obviously going to be close.
It's a tie between deep dish and stuffed crust. 22%.
Thin crust is not getting any love. I will say thin crust was probably my number 2. I think thin crust
is great.
Yeah. It's just, it's one of those things where like, that's why I said what kind of pizza, because a thin crust pepperoni sometimes just hits different.
Well, can I do like a secondary question to this?
Fine, Kevin.
Do you thank you. Do you guys think that square cut pizza tastes better than triangular cut pizza?
No.
I do.
Oh yeah.
I do.
Kevin's a Lido pizza guy.
So they have a place. My grandparents live in Columbus.
You
Ohio.
would order Little Caesars, wouldn't you?
No. There's this place in Ohio called Massey's Pizza, the best pizza spot, Columbus, Ohio. It's glorious. They do the square cut pizzas. You get pepperoni, and then you know what? I'm already in it. I'm gonna just out myself even more. My favorite pizza is mushroom pizza.
Oh no, I like mushroom pizza.
Yes, thank you, Brett. Thank you.
But so just mushroom.
For what?
Just mushroom on the pizza?
Mm-hmm. Well, like obviously cheese and everything too.
Oh yeah.
Like,
well, okay.
Yes. Just mushroom. Yes.
Oh
mushroom
well,
pizza.
I mean, like I like a mushroom pizza, but like I would like mushrooms and everything else on it. Like my favorite pizza is the Supreme Pizza. Has everything.
I see. Yeah. No, I'm just plain mushrooms. Put the mushrooms on there, and I'm good.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all.
I've been with this with everybody here for 2 months. I think I've maybe provided the most controversial opinions in bulk on this show.
No, you have. And then we got into controversial opinions last episode, and you actually delivered an extremely intriguing fact, and nobody heard because me and Rocco were.
I know. Well, I'll say it in a clearer sense now. If you haven't seen, we put out a clip, social media and on YouTube if you want to go check it out. We had a debate, a very spicy and passionate debate on the best TV show of all time. And you see Zach with his shirt. You know where he's coming in with Office. You know, we have Nick Moore, the Ravens long snap run here. He was Band of Brothers. Rocco said Sopranos. What did Ryan and Brad? What did you say? I can't remember what you two said.
Well, we
Ryan
were on
was friends, I think.
We were on the topic of sitcoms, and then it got into the greatest show of all time. But sitcoms, I thought the greatest sitcom of all time, and I think it probably is syndicated more than any other show because it is the greatest sitcom of all time, is MASH.
Right.
Yeah, no, I forgot that was Brad's.
That's when it got.
Yeah, that's when I said that The Office was the greatest show of all time, and that's when the floodgates opened on the argument.
I think because I didn't say mine because I'm spewing controversial opinions tonight. So why not keep going with it?
Because I'm going to date myself, and you guys, you may have seen some Golden Girls shows, but Golden Girls is also very underrated.
Yeah, no, I've seen reruns of that.
Betty White.
I think for me,
Golden Girls is underrated.
I'm gonna go Parks and Rec.
Yeah,
underrated Parks and Rec.
Is that's your show? That's
my.
Oh,
we've talked.
That's my pick. Controversial opinions.
Walmart version Office.
I'm spewing.
This is also controversial. Where did I see this? Oh yeah, best pizza in Baltimore. I mean, we're a national show, but these are some fighting words because there are some really good pizza in Baltimore. People don't even know.
Oh,
where's your place?
Where's your place?
Mine's Pig and Rooster in Canton. It's just south of the Chaucer, if you've ever been there.
No, I haven't.
Pig and Rooster. I mean, I'm telling you, you got to go. But you're also, the studio is also in Little Italy, so there's good pizza all the way around.
I was gonna say the studio does have some fantastic food around it.
Now people are gonna come find us now. Special guests on the Ryan Ripken show.
They'll never find us.
We're in there's the hint, near Little Italy. So
should Brad's phone be the prize if they find us?
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Yeah, if you never know, you walk in, Brad's phone could just be sitting on the couch next to the door. So we'll see. But let's get into some Baltimore Orioles baseball. Not a lot of talk about so far, but Corbin Burns announced to be the starter on Saturday. This is not an opening day starter. First exhibition game is on Saturday against the Red Sox, I believe. So in fact, yes, Red Sox. I'm going to say it loud and proud. Someone in the chat, if that's right. Corbin Burns is going to start. Will he pitch a lot? No. I expect him to pitch maybe 2 innings. But Corbin Burns is starting a game for the Baltimore Orioles in 2 days? I mean, how can you not be excited about that? It's just one of those things where it's starting to taste like baseball. We had Dodgers Padres on today. Dodgers, unreal. But it's starting to feel like baseball season. It really is.
I'm excited for it. It's crazy because when was that? Was it 2 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago? Burns was acquired?
Yeah.
And now we're getting to see him for the first time in those loud and proud orange jerseys. They are very loud.
That's right. You will not miss him on the screen if you tune in. I can promise you that. You will know where every Orioles player is at all time within a 50-mile radius because those jerseys are highlighters.
I think the big thing I'm looking for, I mean, I think everybody's just laser focused in on Jackson Holiday and just what he's going to look like. I mean, obviously the Corbin acquisition is huge and it's awesome, but I mean, we kind of talked about it a couple weeks ago in terms of this being, there's not a guarantee. Like it's not guaranteed Jackson makes the Orioles opening day roster this year.
I'll tell you why. I'm just going to put this to bed. Jackson Holiday is not starting on opening day, and for the same reason that Gunnar Henderson does not start on opening day, and that has everything to do with arbitration. They're going to be able to start him later in the season, maybe May, that sometime around there. They won't ruin his rookie of the year bid if he gets to that point, and they'll be able to have him for an extra year. I think it's a business decision. They're going to do the same thing to Jackson Holiday as they did to Gunnar Henderson. Sorry, guys, he ain't starting on opening day.
I think he does. I think because of the new rules with if you have guys on opening day and draft picks, first round picks, I think that's going to become. If that was no longer a thing, without a doubt, but I think if he plays his way on the roster, it's no longer, he put up an incredible year in spring, but we're going to keep him down anyway, like the Chris Bryants when they were coming up with the Cubs and he was the next big thing and the Cubs didn't let him start opening day. And they were literally 2 weeks later, he came up as the day that he got an extra year of eligibility. But
I don't know if that's enough incentive for a guy like Jackson Holiday, though.
Well, the thing is, if he wins Rookie of the Year, he loses a year anyway. So that's where
true.
I think it's so weird. If they think he's going to win Rookie of the Year either way, it's going to be tough. Because
you can't suppress his at-bats to the point where he doesn't win it. Like he's too good. And for me, I think, again, if he has an awesome spring training, like he just lights the world on fire, I think he'll make it. But if it's, he's just so-so, where he kind of struggles, you'll send him down to AAA and you'll have him be there, not for a long, long time. Like I would expect him up at least at the very latest by the All-Star break.
Oh, I would say
far prior to that. But that's like the absolute, like if he goes down there and just somehow struggles in AAA, you keep him down for maybe a month or two more. But I don't expect him to do that.
Yeah,
so
I think if I had to put a percentage on on the percentage of Jackson Holiday making the team out of camp, I'd say it's like 33%. I think 1/3 of the time he makes it, like you said, he just lights the world on fire. There are at bats to be had at second base for a lefty. But I think it also comes down to the fact of, is he going to get every day at bats at first? And if he's not going to get every day at bats at first, if he'd be playing only 2-3 times a week, I think they would prefer to have him just get at bats in AAA. So I think that's another big aspect of this decision is, can he come up and start every day? Because if he's just going to be a platoon guy, that's not how he's going to get better.
Right. I agree. And it's what the point of getting guys down there is to get at bats. And if he's going to be playing every fourth day or every third day, I think you'd want him to be in a role where he's playing and getting MLB experience. Even if we saw Grayson struggle, go down, come back up, and was really good the second half of the season. If that's the same path with Jackson, I think it caused a little more controversy if you send him down after making the opening day roster than a Grayson, even though I know that caused plenty. But I still think that you don't have to overly force it with him. Like you don't have to have him start on opening day or have him be on the roster on opening day because their timeline is so long. Holiday's timeline is so long. He's going to be up at some point early in the season, whether it's on opening day or whether it comes in May or June, or again, the All-Star break is my absolute like late last resort deadline for him.
I agree. I think it's going to come down to how he plays this spring. And I don't see, the latest I see him getting brought up is mid-May. I just don't see really a possibility where even he would have to struggle an immense amount in AAA for him to stay down. And I just don't see that. Yeah. Jason, I'm with you. Give me the kid running down the carpet. Give me him down the orange carpet.
Is that orange carpet going to be as bright as the uniforms?
Oh, there's a bet. That should
they should make it. They should stitch together the spring training uniforms and roll it out as the carpet.
Okay, someone from the Orioles write that down.
See,
that was
you got to write it down. Write it down.
Kevin, point at the camera again. Tell him to write down.
Write it down.
There we go. Awesome. Now moving on to I don't want to say a less talked about Oriole, but someone who has kind of fallen through the cracks when it comes to the future. Someone that when everyone talks about, the future Orioles, they're going to be good for so long. A player that falls through the cracks, Ryan Mountcastle.
Oh, yeah.
And even though he's not here, Ryan Ripken did a breakdown of Ryan Mountcastle that we're about to show you a clip of. We'll have the full breakdown up on YouTube right after this show, so you can go check out the full thing there. But want to give you just a quick glimpse of this breakdown because I think Ryan talks about a great point here in this part of the video where sometimes Ryan Mountcastle's weaknesses are also his strengths. So you have to give into he's going to strike out. He's not going to draw walks, but that power. But when he's on, we all see what Ryan Mountcastle is. So we'll have Ryan take it away right here, and we'll react to it a little bit on the other side.
I wanted to show you something now. This is if there's a knock to Mounties game, and people are going to say this, he doesn't walk enough, right? And last year, I think he had 37 walks. And granted, his numbers between walks to strikeouts was much better in the second half. What does get Mountie in trouble is chasing pitches. So in this case, Gott's going to elevate a fastball here, and always a elevated fastball that looks like it's going to be a strike is a hard pitch to hit. But Mountie goes chasing with 2 strikes, 0-2 count, a little bit higher, strikeout, right? That's the way the cookie crumbles. Here's another example. The lefty O'Kurt for the Marlins. He's got to throw a slider down and in. And Mountie, again, if you look at it, it's another 0-2 count. So that's the other knock. They say, well, Mountie doesn't battle enough, which I don't believe. I think that's erroneous. But at times, he can get fooled, and he will go chasing, right? And I want people to understand this. These balls are out of the zone. You try hitting the ball that far out of the zone or get fooled that much, like it happens. Like this is one of the best hitters in all of Major League Baseball, in my opinion, when he's on. If you're a big league hitter, by the way, you're one of the best players in the world. So just context here. But what he could work on, that's something that's no knock to him. That's just the reality of it. So Suarez here is going to throw a really nasty changeup away. Again, goes swinging, missing. That's the reality, okay? But now I'll show you some good parts of Mountie hitting balls out of the zone, because that's actually a strength of Mountie. So as much as you have to deal with the fact of Mountie hitting balls swinging at balls out of the zone, you can also live with the fact that he can do some serious damage on balls out of the zone. And I mean ridiculous damage. And this first one you're going to see, yes, it's going to be a broken bat, but look how far inside that ball is. That ball is way inside, but Mountie doesn't give up on it, can pull his hands in, and he'll be able to get a little blooper down the line. But guess what? That does the job, and things keep moving. Nestor Cortes here tries to throw a high fastball in on Ryan Mountcastle. You're going to see it right up here, but the problem is he doesn't get it to exactly where he wants. And actually, maybe he does. I mean, this is actually not a bad pitch at all, but Mountcastle, better swing. Ready? Here it is. And again, in, but Mountie is ready, shoots the ball down the line. Again, great.
There it is.
Well, I felt like he was right there with
I
us
know.
the whole time.
It was good to see from him.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. He used erroneous in that.
Good
which,
word.
yeah.
Good word.
Great word.
I'm proud of him. Yeah. So that is just another teaser. You saw another part on Twitter. If you do not follow Ryan on Twitter, he has a bunch of breakdowns, little clips that he does all the time. So definitely go follow him there. The full breakdown, which is about 8 minutes, will be on YouTube after this show. So I think that wraps it up. Kevin, you got anything? Brad, anything else?
No, I think I'm good.
Yeah, I think we put together a good show. A lot of spicy and mild spicy topics on there.
And we were on time.
Yeah,
that was.
I do want to point that out. That no Rocco, no Ryan. We not only on time, started the stream at 5:55. So by the countdown, we started at 6. I mean,
now we have to do an experiment where it's just Ryan and Rocco.
It would start
see
at
if they
7:15.
start at like 10 p.m.
God.
It would
Oh
not
my
be anywhere close. But for all those,
Oh,
for all those at the Ryan Ripken Show, can you hear me still? Yeah.
Yeah.
All those at the Ryan Ripken Show, we'll see you next time.
Jesus
For
Christ.
Kevin, that got way too loud.
no, I was driving the Jeep
No,
to it.
we can still hear
messed
you.
Up my vibe.
Yeah,
We
I was
can
just
still
getting
hear
really
you.
loud. All right. So I guess for Kevin, for Brad, for Zach, this is the Ryan Ripken Show. We will be back on Monday, hopefully with a slightly taller guy as well. So we will see you then. What's he say? Have a day, have a night, have a weekend.
Yeah, we got to work on that.
Yeah, I don't know what he's
So
doing.
corny.
But
It's so corny.
let's hit the outro music again. We'll see you next time.
Peace.